Hey DJ, it's St. Patrick's Day. Do you know what that means?
Does that mean that St. Patrick's gonna see his shadow, which means 6 more weeks of a hangover?
No, it means that we're talking about Leprechaun 2.
Oh yeah! What am I saying?
We're a couple of guys who like to watch movies, cinema nerds who made it our duty to make a show where we break down, discuss, and review. We're the men who watch movies.
All right. So Leprechaun 2. What did you think about that?
It was really, really, really awesome. I just want to say, kudos to Warwick Davis, who was playing the Leprechaun. Fantastic job.
He did an excellent job. His
Excellent job.
acting was impeccable. I just love his work in these movies. He knows how to ham up the screen. Would you say?
Oh yeah, he's very awesome, and of course the effects for when he disguises his voice as a girl and in the
That's so spooky. I love when the characters do that in movies. I mean, it's like, like I've said this before, but it's like the T-1000, or even like, I know, and then they did that in Megan, and then they also did that in Ernest. Remember
a little
Ernest
fun
Scared
fact
Stupid?
for you folks. That actually happened in one of the movies, so it'll tie in with the Leprechaun / Megan, so makes sense.
Well, there's not a direct tie-in, but I'm saying it's a similar traits of the character that could replicate other people's voices and whatnot.
Similar
It was
movie.
I'm sure it was intentional, but now it's the 30th anniversary of the Leprechaun franchise. The first one came out in 1993. So
Starring Jennifer Aniston herself.
Yes,
the
and like
great
I said,
thespian herself.
we reviewed Leprechaun on our very second episode. You can check that out on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts and whatnot. But yeah, Leprechaun 2, 1994. Now, is this the same Leprechaun? Because spoilers, at the end of the first Leprechaun, they blow him up. Remember, he's susceptible to four-leaf clovers, and then one of the kids in the movie, he slingshots a four-leaf clover in his face and blows him to bits, melts him, and he explodes and whatnot.
Well, nothing ever dies in a science fiction movie. So
It's true. Even in Hollywood, nothing ever dies. No one's ever really gone. So in this movie, Leprechaun returns somehow. And so there's a whole new plot. They change a lot of the lore. I don't know. They're just kind of retconning things and tweaking things that it doesn't make sense with the continuity of the first movie. But it's Leprechaun, so who cares? I guess. Now. This movie also has a different title. In the UK, it was known as One Wedding and a Lots of Funerals. So I think that's an amazing title. They should have gone with that. But that's just my opinion, man. But yeah, so Leprechaun. It starts in like ancient Ireland 1,000 years ago. I don't know whatever time that was. And so basically, the whole premise of the Leprechaun movie is that the Leprechaun, it's his birthday on St. Patrick's Day. And every 1,000 years, I guess he has a chance to marry somebody. That's a long time to wait.
yeah, I mean, I
guess you could say his green balls. No. Anyway, not to get too off topic here.
Not to get too off topic.
But yeah, so he has to wait 1,000 years. So he's found his bride. And now in the movie, we see a guy named William O'Day. Like, he has him captured. He has him in like this weird chain thing around his neck. I guess he tried to steal some of his gold. Now, in the first movie, that was the big premise of the movie. Someone stole his gold, and he had to kill people to get it back. Now, we said before in our first review of the first movie that he was more the victim. Like, he got his shit stolen, and he just wanted it back. So I feel like he was the victim in that movie. This one, he's a little more of a rascal. He's just killing because he wants a bride.
Although it is dangerous, when you see a leprechaun. Just stay the hell away.
I've never seen one, and I don't think I ever will. But good advice. Anyway, not to get too off topic.
Not to get too off topic.
Yeah. So the guy that he's captured, William O'Day, turns out that the bride he's seeking is his daughter, much to his chagrin. Now there's like a lore that if the bride that he's seeking sneezes 3 times, then he has the ability to marry her, unless if someone breaks the spell by saying "God bless you." And of course, being his daughter, he risks it for the biscuit, and he says "bless you" to his daughter. Tries to make a run for it. And of course, the spell is broken. The leprechaun doesn't get to marry his daughter, and he's pissed. He uses his force powers. Now, the leprechaun has a bunch of wacky powers. It kind of varies from movie to movie. But one of the things that remained was like telekinesis, right? He can like lift shit with his hands.
So
like a Jedi.
He's a Jedi / mutant.
I don't know. Maybe he'll be part of the next
Leprechaun
MCU phase or something. Anywho, yeah. So he's pissed that he broke the curse. He goes and chases him down. He lifts him up. And he there's one point where you can see the wires. It's the effects in this, for the most part, they're okay, but there's a little bit of faux pas once in a while. You can see the wires that are pulling up William O'Day in certain cuts. Like there's some clips on YouTube where you can't see it; it's too dark. But I was watching it on Peacock, and you can clearly see the wires holding up the guy. Anyway, the daughter hears and runs over, and the leprechaun's like, curse you! I'm going to curse your seed, and in the next 1,000 years, I'm going to find your fairest relative, and I'm going to marry them. And then so he disappears, and the daughter runs over and sees he's dead and screams the best dramatic soap opera scream she can. There's a lot of great acting in this movie, not just from Warwick Davis. They all give it their best for how bad this movie was. It has a terrible critic or audience score, by the way. I think it's like a 6% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's pretty bad. I did not think it deserved a 6%.
But I do not follow Rotten Tomatoes, so
me neither. I like to make my own
pretty safe
opinion.
on that one.
Yeah. So then we see modern day. It cuts to Los Angeles. But St. Patrick's Day, this, of course, we see signs posted everywhere. Someone posted like a sign right over the bus stop schedule. I don't know. That's not a good idea. How are you supposed to see the schedule? Why would you block the sign like that? Anyway, we see Bridget. She's the modern relative of the O'Days. So she meets up with Cody. He's like part of this thing called Dark Side Tours. So I guess he runs it with his Uncle Morty, played by Sandy Barron, who plays Jack Klumpus on Seinfeld.
Who recently passed away.
He passed away a bit ago, but yeah, he's no longer with us. But hilarious actor. And it's like this shyster business where they give tours of like famous gruesome Hollywood stops.
And Clint Howard makes a small cameo.
Yeah, Clint Howard. He's
Brother
in there
of
as
Ron
well.
Howard.
And then Kimmy Robertson, she's from Twin Peaks. She played Lucy Moran, and she was in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. She was like the neighbor's friend's wife. So he goes to find Morty because he basically was helping set up the tour, get in the people, and then Morty was going to take him on the ride. But Morty's nowhere to be found. He's not in the house, but then he realizes he's at the bar. He's a big drunk. On top of being a shyster. So he goes to the bar. It's funny because he's trying to convince like this guy who's passed out at the bar to buy a stake in their franchise. And then that's when Cody finds him. He tells him that he needs to go take the tourists on a ride, and but they figure out he's too drunk. He's going to do it at first, but then he's like, no, you know what? One of my rules is to not kill the tourists because that's bad for business. So he decides not to do it. But then Cody's like, well, someone has to do it, and I guess I have to. So he has to break his plans with Bridget. They were going to go to the go-kart track, but now she's pissed. They pass by the first house. I forget whose house they said it was. But then this lady comes out and splashes their car with water. She's pissed at them. Hey, my husband's not dead. You need to get out of our neighborhood. And they drive off frantically. And then they go to the next house, which is Houdini's house. And then we find out it's actually Houdini's house because there's a tree with a plaque from the people of Killarney for some reason. I don't know if is Houdini Irish?
Maybe, I'm not sure.
And then then they're talking about the Houdini death house, and then they're saying that his ghost still resides around, and some of the tourists are looking out the window, and like a hobo pops up and scares them. And then later on, we see the same hobo. He's laying in a tree drinking some whiskey, and then that's when the leprechaun comes by. He lives in that tree apparently. I don't know how long he's been living in that tree, but he pops out of the tree and drinks the whiskey, and he spits it out because it's like Canadian blend, and he's like, no, the only whiskey is Irish whiskey. And he's mad, and then he sees the guy has a gold tooth, the hobo. So he steals the gold filling from the hobo. Now, last time when he had his pot of gold, was it like a mishmash of stuff? Or I thought it was all gold coins, but it seems like he just has a bunch of random gold shit in his pot now.
Pretty much, but Tony Cox makes a very, very small cameo.
Oh yeah,
not to put a pun on that.
Yes,
question,
Tony Cox, of course. He was actually in Willow. with Warwick Davis. And he's been in a bunch of other stuff. He was in
Which makes sense.
He was
by
in
the way.
Bad Santa, and then he was also in a lot of those parody movies. He was in like Date Movie, and then he was in, what was that, Epic Movie, and all those shitty parody movies that came out in like the 2000s. But he's hilarious. I love him as an actor. Yeah, there is one scene we'll talk about in a little bit, but he was great in this, and it sets up the ending of the movie. So eventually, Cody makes a pit stop at the go-kart place, and then the girlfriend gets out, and he gets out with her, and then she's talking with the person who owns the go-kart place. It's another guy. He's interested in Bridget, and there's kind of like a little love triangle thing going on at first, where he's kind of flirting with her, and she's entertaining it just to make Cody mad, and then we get a little bit of fake out. We see the camera. It looks like the leprechaun stalking them, but it's actually the dog Andretti, which is named after Mario Andretti, the Italian race car driver, which is kind of funny because I mean they work at a go kart place, so they got some kind of reference to that. I guess I don't know. That was kind of weird. Then Cody, he's saying things will be different and whatnot, and Bridget's like, "What makes you think that there will be a next time?" So she's kind of like trying to scare him into thinking that they're going to break up and whatnot. Cody's frustrated. He continues the tour, but the guests are all pissed. So he's like, you know what? If you want to go home, I'll take you home. And then he speeds off, and he runs a freaking red light. And there happens to be a cop nearby. He busts him. They take him. They put him in a holding cell. And Morty picks him up. He's all angry. And at the police station, we see the hobo that got his filling ripped out. He's frantically telling the cops. I don't know why they picked him up. Maybe they thought he was just crazy. But they arrest him for something, and he's screaming, "It was the leprechaun, the guy with the." I don't think he says leprechaun, but he's like the guy with the little green hat, and they think he's just crazy, so they lock him up. But he's not crazy. That's the thing.
Nope.
Yeah, and then Cody teases Morty and says, "See, if you don't stop drinking, you're gonna see little green men too." So, yeah, he's a big drunk. Then you see Leprechaun on the street corner. He's like twisting he has like a little walking stick, and he's like rotating it around in midair. I don't know. He's just out out in the open.
Shillelagh.
Or I don't know. Is that what that is? I don't know.
Bit of an Irish walking stick.
Yeah. So he's
Uncle Artie
spinning.
used to have it.
Oh yeah. So he has I guess it's shillelagh. So he's spinning a shillelagh around. I guess wherever it lands, it's going to point to the bride that he's seeking. Then some guy walks by. He thinks he's doing like magic tricks on the street for money, and then he gives him a quarter. He's like, "What's this?" And he's like, "It's a quarter. What'd you expect?" And then I don't know. The guy thinks he's some kind of entertainer. So I think he's like a talent agent, so he hands him his card, and then the leprechaun notices a gold ring on his finger, and then of course the leprechaun loves gold, so he like frickin' he tears off his finger, almost like it's made out of paper. He doesn't even try. He just pulls it off. The guy's screaming, his hands bleeding everywhere, and then he's like laughing his ass off, and then the leprechaun licks the bloody nub, and he's like, finger licking good. This guy's
It's
insane.
a reference to
Leprechaun's
Colonel
insane.
Sanders KFC chicken.
Oh yeah,
Finger
the
licking
leprechaun's
good.
insane, and he's super strong. Like he tore it off like those little like those flyers with those tabs that you pull off
Super muscular.
when you're looking for an apartment or something or a job. It's
He's very
insane.
muscular. The way.
Yeah, it's almost like those. How like you have like chimpanzees that are super strong and stuff like that. They rip people's faces off. I feel like he has that kind of brute strength. But not to get too off topic here. And then we cut to Cody's sitting on his bed. He's just thinking about Bridget. He's looking at photographs. Remember photographs when that was a thing before we had digital media and phones and whatnot? Polaroid photos and whatnot. He's looking at them all sad. And then for some reason, there's this weird scene where like he sees her on the TV, almost like it's like a soap opera, and Bridget. And I think it's like him with her, and then it changes to the other guy. It's some weird, I don't know what the fuck was going on. It reminded me of like something out of Nightmare on Elm Street or some shit. And then when that ends, he goes to have a talk with Morty, saying that he blew it, and then Morty's divorced or whatnot, and he's like, oh, whatever, women are trouble, and he's like, then he tries to show him a card game. It's that one where you have like 3 cards, and you have to try and find the red card.
Monty.
3-card Monty. There you go. He tries to throw him 3-card Monty. He tries to show him that, and then he's talking about how. It's a game about, trying to fool the suckers, and how, they take their eye off the prize, and that's how they're able to trick them into taking their money and whatnot. And then he goes to see Bridget. He's like, you know what? I'm done taking my eye off the prize. I'm going to go see Bridget and whatnot. So then later we cut to Bridget. She happens to be with Ian. He's the guy that was running the go-kart place. And of course, she was just flirting with him to get Cody mad, but Ian really likes Bridget, and so he's trying to get her to sleep with him, and he won't take no for an answer. So they have a little bit of an argument, and then she has to punch him in the gut to get him to stay away. But then, of course, the leprechaun, he's a jealous fuck, and of course, Bridget is the one that he's seeking for the bride. She's related to the O'Day bloodline. So Leprechaun, to get Ian out of the way, he poses as Bridget, saying like, "Oh, you know what? I made a mistake. I really want you." And then there's a scene where she takes her top off, and turns out when he goes,
it's a mirage.
It's a mirage of the deadly kind. He goes to touch her boobs, and it turns out in real life, in place of her boobs, it's 2 lawnmower blades, and it makes for an insane and hilarious kill.
It's insane.
So he goes, I don't know what he's going to do, but I don't know what he's thinking he's going to do. I don't know if he went to motorboater or something, but he goes to stick his face in what he thinks is her boob area, and it turns out to be 2 giant blades on a lawnmower, and he slices his face off.
Which is disgusting, by the way. Very disgusting.
One of my favorite kills of the movie. There's another one that's amazing too, but I got to say I didn't quite enjoy the kills like I did in the first one. Especially the first one had the pogo stick kill. That was great. That was my favorite of the last movie. So anyway, the doorbell rings and Bridget thinks it's Ian, still trying to get after her and whatnot. And it turns out it's Cody at the door with flowers. He brought flowers and a note to try and get Bridget back. And of course, she's saying that, I can't stay mad at you. She does love him, but she was just frustrated from earlier and whatnot. There's one hilarious part where he's like hugging her, and then he's like, I'll let nothing come between us. And behind them, they don't notice, but the leprechaun's crawling through the window. I thought that was hilarious timing. And of course, the leprechaun comes between them.
Very hilarious.
And then the leprechaun is secretly trying to make Bridget sneeze, because the rule, she has to sneeze thrice, so they can wed. And Ian thinks it's not Ian, sorry, Cody. Cody thinks it's the flowers. And then she sneezes a third time. He's about to say "bless you," and he gets choked out by the phone cord. Remember phones when they had cords? That was a thing.
Yeah, but nowadays they don't have it.
But he gets choked out by the landline, and in order to prevent him from saying "bless you" and breaking the curse, they freak the fuck out when they see the little leprechaun man attacking them, and then Cody gets a kitchen knife trying to attack the leprechaun, but he uses his force powers. He brings down a rack of pots and pans on top of him. It's this whole thing. I feel like for the powers that the leprechaun has, he doesn't really use them all that well. And he uses them in very uninteresting ways. Like he could walk and teleport through things, and he can make shit appear out of nowhere. I feel like he doesn't utilize his powers all that well. But that's probably a budget thing. And then Bridget's still freaking out. She tries to run out the door, but then Ian is hanging there with his face shredded in the doorway. At this point, she's just fucking terrified. And then he says, "You need a proper ring." Now they totally missed an opportunity at this point. I thought he was going to grab the ring that he ripped off that guy's finger and give it to her. That would have been hilarious if he gave her like a
He was strong, by the way. The leprechaun is strong.
Yeah.
He has some super leprechaun muscular power.
Yeah, that would have been hilarious if he gave her the ring with the finger still on it. But when he gave her the ring, it was actually it was like the neck shackle like he had on her relative back in the day. He gave her a gold neck shackle and he threw it on her neck. That's how he was controlling her, and he was going to take her back to his tree fortress in the Houdini tree. And then he starts dragging her over slowly and he's like, "Give me a kiss." And then while he's dragging her over, she knocks over his his pot of gold, and then a coin rolls out of it, ends up in Cody's hands. That's what wakes him up somehow. And then he gets a hold of the gold coin. And then later on, when he takes Bridget back to his lair, he realizes his gold coin's missing. So that sets off another bit of plot. He has to go back and find that gold coin. Oh, before that, when their whole attack was going on, before he takes off with Bridget, Cody, when he wakes up, he throws a wrought iron poker at the leprechaun, and it burns his hand. So then he figures out that wrought iron is like his weakness or some shit. It's like his kryptonite, which is weird because, like I said, the last movie was Four Leaf Clover, so they just changed it up to make it different or
They
something.
changed it up, but
I don't
it's
know.
all right.
Anything goes in these
Gentlemen.
fucking movies. I don't know what's going on. So later on, like I said, they get attacked at Morty's place, and then so they escape out the fire escape. So now at this point, the police are after Cody because they think that he killed Ian because he had motive. You know, they were both interested in the same woman, and they believe that he did it because, you know, who's going to believe a leprechaun did it? You know, nobody. So they're after Ian at this point. So he has to go and sneak around and whatnot. So he ends up getting in through the fire escape to talk to Morty at his apartment, and then that's where they get the idea to leave out the fire escape when the leprechaun attacks. And then he closed the bars, which are wrought iron, and it keeps him kind of locked in for a little bit. Of course, he figures his way out, but it prevents him from chasing him at that moment. They go to hide out at the local bar where Morty frequents. The place is like swarming with cops. So they end up going to hide in the bathroom for some reason, which you'd think cops would be looking everywhere if they were, you know, if they thought that he might be there. But the bathroom's empty, so they go in there, and then Morty decides he wants to go get a drink. Then we see Cody taking a piss, and then all of a sudden you see these little shoes walking in. You know, it looks like it's a leprechaun. Although whoever's wearing those shoes are huge for them. I don't know why they gave him such big shoes. But he walks in. It turns out it's a fake out. It's not the leprechaun, but it's Tony Cox, like we mentioned earlier. He makes his cameo in the movie. He's a guy just dressed as a leprechaun, giving out chocolate gold coins, and so he offers one to Cody. He goes back out to meet with Morty, and turns out the actual leprechaun is there waiting for them. He's sitting there creepily at the end of the bar, and in order to stall the leprechaun, Morty decides to get in a drinking contest with him. Morty's a big drunk, and he actually is able to outdrink the leprechaun. I thought he was going to pull some trick on him or something. Because Morty's a shyster and whatnot. I thought he was going to do a little switcheroo. Maybe he was drinking a non-alcoholic beverage, or maybe he was going to slip a drink and he put iron in it or something. I don't know. But none of that. He just ended up drinking the leprechaun under the table and got him drunk. There's one point where the leprechaun tries to levitate a ashtray, and he can't do it. He's like, "That's why you shouldn't levitate. That's why you shouldn't drink and levitate." It was really funny. And then, I don't know. I feel like they could have had him at that point, but somehow the leprechaun he snaps to a little bit. What I would have done, I would have brought my wrought iron like poker or something with me, and then just shivved him while he was like incapacitated. But they didn't think of that. He ended up smashing Morty over the head with a bottle and getting away. Then he goes to a local coffee shop. I guess he's trying to sober up or whatnot. And that's where we meet Michael McDonald, the actor from Mad TV and a bunch of other shit. He plays the barista, and he's just another actor who just hams it up in this movie. It's funny because he's talking to him, and of course he's a leprechaun. He's talking in leprechaun, fashion and whatnot. And he's like, "Oh, you're really playing the part. We have a method actor here, everybody. It's great. Look at you." And then he's talking about, can you leave already? Because I want to close up. Just pay your tab and go. And he's like, "Oh, so it's your gold. It's me gold that you want." He's like, "Yeah, gold, Visa, whatever. Whatever you can pay in. Obviously, you can't pay in cash. You're a little short." And he's like teasing
pun on that. Leprechaun, but very, very rude, I might add.
Yeah, he's teasing him. He's joking with him. Yeah, so Mike McDonald, he just keeps teasing him, and then finally he decides to kill him. I don't know. I'm kind of iffy on this kill. It was kind of silly, but he uses the steam from one of the coffee machines to blast his face. He melts his face off. Poor Michael McDonald.
He can't get a break.
Yeah. Anyway, so later on in the story, Leprechaun ends up taking Bridget to his lair. He plans on I guess he plans on planting his seed in her and whatnot, so he can have his litter of leprechaun babies. But then he plans on altering her so that she won't scare the little babies, and so they could settle down. And she's just freaking her shit, because she does not want to have his babies and whatnot. She's totally grossed out by him. There's one point where he's telling her, "Do you want to go into the bedroom?" She's like, "Oh God, no." Her acting is hilarious in this movie. And then she's trying to find every way out. And then That's at the point where he realizes his gold shilling is missing, so he has to go and try and retrieve it. He sees some police officers talking. They find Cody's card that he left with the flowers that he gave to Bridget, and so that's where Leprechaun learns of Cody's name. He goes to find Cody. I think that's where he has the encounter with them at Morty's apartment, and eventually Cody and Morty come up with a plan to get a wrought iron safe. I think it's at the go-kart track, right?
Oh yeah, they like the kart track, so it's like really, really good. It's like, special effects are awesome and very, very, very gruesome, in fact, but still a very, very, very good movie.
Yeah, so they go to the go-kart track, they retrieve the wrought iron safe. Morty's at first he's trying to steal the money out of it, but Cody tells him to put it back. He's like, "We're not here for the money." But Morty's a greedy man, but he ends up putting it back. But then a freaking security guard catches them. He foils their plan for a second there. But then Morty gets the upper hand and punches the security guard. He's about to...
bit of a Rocky punch.
Yeah, he's about to untie the handcuffs that the security guard put on him. And then I think he's gonna cuff the security guard. But then the leprechaun finds them, starts attacking. Then we see Cody coaxing the leprechaun over with the gold coin, telling you, "If you want it, here, come and get it." And then Morty's like, "No, don't give it to him." And then Leprechaun enters through a doggy door, which is weird because he could just teleport. Like, why does he have to enter through the doggy door? But anyway, I guess to help move with the story forward, he ends up getting tricked. He goes through the doggy door right into the safe, which he placed right behind the door. They trap him in there. It looks like they got him beat because he can't escape because it's wrought iron, right? But Morty, of course, being a freaking greedy fuck, he decides that he's gonna he locks Cody in the broom closet, and he's trying to get the leprechaun to give him some wishes. So he's like, "My first wish is I want your pot of gold." So he's like, "You want me pot of gold? Here, you can have it." Now this is definitely one of the greatest kills of the movie. Do you remember what happens next?
Oh yeah, it's gruesome and not
definitely
R-rated gruesome stuff.
Oh, gnarly!
Yeah, he manifests his pot of gold inside of Morty's stomach. It almost looks very cartoonish. It's kind of silly, but
actually.
This whole thing is very silly. So you can see his stomach growing and bulging, and all of a sudden you see like a shape of a pot of gold inside of Morty's stomach. He's fucking in pain. He's screaming out. He's wrenching in pain and begging him to get it out of him. He's like, "Well, you have to wish me out of here first." And so he wishes him out, but ultimately he can't get out unless Morty lets him out. So Morty lets him out, and he's like, "Your wish is granted. Now what's your third wish?" And he's like, "Get it out of me." And he's like, "If that's your third wish?" And then he uses his claws to cut open Morty's stomach. And of course it kills him. So Leprechaun, he uses his claws, cuts open Morty. And then, Cody's freaking out. He's still stuck in the closet, but then he eventually breaks out. Leprechaun's chasing him. He still wants his gold coin. And then the security guard, he wakes up. He's about to detain Cody. He recognizes him from the news as the kid who said they killed Ian, and he sees a gutted Morty sitting there. He thinks he killed someone else, and so he's about to take him in. He's like, "You sick bastard! You're not gonna kill anyone else." And then you hear like a voice of a woman in the distance calling out for help. He's like, "No, it's a trick." He's like, "Shut up, killer!" And then eventually the leprechaun shows up. He shows up in the freaking the Irish mobile. Just like in the first movie. I remember that tripped us out because it was like, where the fuck did he get a go-kart from? This one, it makes a little more sense because they're at a go-kart track, I guess, but it's still like decked out in Irish theme and whatnot.
In Irish fashion.
Yeah, and he starts chasing down the security guard. He actually he ends up running him over, and then he tries to run over Cody, but for some reason, like I said, Cody's invincible when he has the coin. I don't know what it is. He goes right through him like he's a ghost. And he realizes he's safe if he has that coin, so he holds on to dear life, with that coin in his hand and whatnot. He's not willing to give it up because he realizes, he's safe from the leprechaun. The leprechaun eventually disappears back to the lair and whatnot. So he realizes, Cody realizes that he has to find the leprechaun, and he screams out to the night, "I know where you live." So cheesy, but I love it. He always has these one-liners. And then so the thus begins the final act of the movie. You know, we see Cody. He makes his way to the Houdini tree. He figured that he lived there. So he goes and ventures into the Houdini tree. And of course, Leprechaun's preparing for his arrival. At this point, Leprechaun had like a dress that he manifested for Bridget to wear for their wedding night, and she decides to put it on. She's trying to schmooze him into escaping. She's trying to be nice. She was trying to find a way out, and she tried using rocks because when you try to escape the tree, apparently it just kind of loops you in a circle. Almost reminds me of like that building in Thor Ragnarok where he keeps running around and it just leads him back to the same place. It's like a freaky circle.
Yep.
She keeps trying to get out, but it leads her back to the same place. Almost like 8th level Mario Brothers when you don't go to the right place in Bowser's Castle, and it keeps looping you around. She tries using stones to mark her path so she knows where she's been, but it doesn't work. The stones just disappear. There's a lot of magic shit going on in that place. And then she ends up digging up some treasure chest, and she finds an awl, some kind of pointy tool, and she tries stabbing the leprechaun with it when he gets back, but it just bends. It doesn't hurt him. He's like, "You destroyed my favorite awl my father gave me. You're in big trouble." But first, we have to prepare for Cody's arrival and whatnot. So he's waiting for him to come by.
Very heroic, I might add.
Yeah. So her attempt didn't work, but it was very noble. And then Cody shows up. He gets attacked by a skeleton. I think it's the skeleton of William O'Day, because he makes a reference to that when Bridget gets scared by the skeleton. He's like, "It's your relative. You have the same cheekbones." He's a fucking cheeky bastard. But yeah, and then the skeleton gets in a fight with William. It's very anticlimactic. He just ends up smashing the bones into bits. And then at one point he meets up with Bridget. They go to escape, but they're having the same issue. They keep looping back around and around and around. And then finally, they get separated at some point, and then he finally meets up back with her. But then she's acting really weird. She's like, you just why don't you just why don't we just leave the coin here, and then we can escape. That's all he wants, and maybe he'll leave us alone if we just leave the coin. Just give him back the coin. And then she's acting weird. She kisses him, and he ends up giving Bridget the coin. And then of course, I don't know. There's a goof in the movie at one point. There's a boom mic. It's like it looks like it's about to attack him. But yeah, there's a boom mic in the shot. I don't know why. There's so many mistakes in this movie. Anyway, it kind of hindered the big reveal. But it turns out that it was actually the Leprechaun trying to fool Cody.
Spoiler alert!
And he shapeshifts back into the Leprechaun, which is gross because he just kissed the Leprechaun in Bridget form, albeit, but still. And he's like, "You fool! I got the coin back. You can't fool the most brilliant leprechaun in the world," or whatever he says. I forget what he says. And then Ian tries to attack him with the he brought with him a wrought iron. I don't know if it was the poker or just a piece of sharp wrought iron bar. He brought it with him. He tries to attack him. The leprechaun uses his powers to throw it back at him. He ends up impaling Cody with the wrought iron. And then Bridget's freaking out. She's like, "You killed him." And then he's like, "No matter, now you can be my bride," and whatnot. And then and it turns out Cody is not dead. But how? It turns out, remember that moment when he was given that chocolate coin when he was in the bathroom with Tony Cox? It turns out that was the coin that he gave the leprechaun. He knew it was the leprechaun pulling a trick on him, so he gave him the chocolate coin. Which is a brilliant callback, brilliant setup and payoff in the movie. There was a few moments that I thought were setups that didn't pay off in this movie. Like I said earlier about the ring on the guy's finger. I mean, it's a movie about a leprechaun trying to wed somebody. I thought that ring was going to come back, but it didn't. But this was a brilliant payoff. Turns out the leprechaun was tricked, and then Cody chucks the wrought iron back at the leprechaun, and then it gets stuck in his chest, and he's like short circuiting. He's like sparking, and then freaking Bridget's like, "He's gonna blow," like he's like some kind of bomb or some shit. And then they run the fuck out of there. He explodes into a million little pieces of leprechaun, and they save the day, man. That was brilliant. Definitely not a great movie, but it was entertaining, and that makes it a great movie in my heart.
It does. It makes it a great movie, and it's very, very awesome.
Yeah.
And I give it 2 thumbs up and 9 out of 10.
Wow, that's a big rating. Let's be realistic here. It's definitely, like I said, it's not a great movie. In reality, I would give it like a 4 out of 10, but I would give it 5 shamrocks out of 5 because it's such a fun St. Patrick's Day movie. I would definitely, like you said, it's not for kids.
Nope.
Definitely not. There's nudity in it. There's violence. There's blood and gore.
Lots of it.
But if you're, a horror film loving adult,
or a film connoisseur
who loves a little bit of a comedy in their horror. I know some people are horror purists. They like scary, spooky shit. This is definitely a horror comedy, but it doesn't skimp on either of those. It's freaking hilarious. I would definitely recommend it. Well, this brings a conclusion to our episode of The Men Who Watch Movies, and we're going to enjoy the rest of our St. Patrick's Day. I bought some discount cupcakes that got squished at Walmart for $5. They have the green frosting on them. We're going to enjoy some corned beef and cabbage and good times. So everyone have a wonderful St. Patrick's Day, and we'll see you on our next episode. You can check us out on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, anything, we can check us out on Twitter at Men Watch Movies, Instagram at Men Watch Movies. You can check us out on Facebook. We also have an episode that we recorded that we might put it out. It was a bonus episode. We did a review of The Big Lebowski, which is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. So keep your eyes out for that. So I'll put more information out on that. But it's been a pleasure. My name is Alec.
And my name's DJ the Movie Man Wagner, also known as the COE, the Chairman of Entertainment.
And just remember to keep
on watching.
Thank you, everybody.
I hope this video gets a lot of subscribers.
Me too.